Before we begin this podcast, I just want to give a big shout out to our friend Johnny, who without him, none of this may be possible. He helped us a lot with setting everything up in terms of the equipment, programs, helping us learn stuff. So just wanted to shout him out.
Such sights to show you.
Never alone.
Let this be a lesson to you. Say no to drugs.
You are all my children now.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Vintage Horror Podcast, where we talk about all horror, not just the vintage stuff. With me, what seems as always, is Mark.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And Rob.
Thanks for joining us.
Today we'll be reviewing Hellraiser from 1987. But first, crack a cold one open with the boys. So what's up, Rob? What have you been up to since we last recorded? It's been about, a week or so.
Well, I've been working a lot, trying to get myself together here, eating healthier, trying to cut some of the junk food out, get myself back to my former glory, whatever that was. And, just trying to keep up with all the movies and games and stuff going on in the world. It's a busy time to be a nerd. How about you, Mark?
Okay. Yeah, what's up, Mark?
Pretty much the same thing. Just trying to eat more Taco Bell.
I respect that. When
No,
are they going to sponsor the podcast?
Yeah, right.
They're going to learn.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, they're going to learn.
Sponsor us, Taco Bell.
Love you.
Love you. Except the double gordita crunches, whatever they're called,
Okay,
the grossest shit.
It's literally cheesy gordita crunch.
Yeah, cheesy gordita crunch. I can't remember the name of it because it's
Double cheesy gordita crunch. Yeah,
gross
but
as
it's the
hell.
same shit. So
literally gross as shit.
okay.
But, just played more Resident Evil 2. Nothing different than last week, probably. So watched both Fry Festival documentaries.
And
And I'm a big fan of Billy McFarlane.
I haven't watched those yet, so I know. I only know like a small tidbit of like what happened, but I don't.
No, he's just a master manipulator, and so that's about it. What about you, Kyle? What's up with you?
Well, I believe you left out the fact that we finally fucking booked a flight to Atlanta, so we're definitely.
I thought we did that last time. No, we had an Airbnb, but I canceled that, so now we have a flight, no place to stay yet.
Yeah, so we're going to Atlanta definitely for the Cinema on Set. Is that what it's called? Cinema on Set or
On-set cinema.
On-set cinema. And so we're definitely going there to Atlanta for Scream 2, but now we don't have an Airbnb. We just have a plane.
we got a plane and a car.
And maybe Rob will come if he decides he wants to, but we'll see, I guess, later on about that.
Yeah, we just got to check his diaper.
But besides that, we've been up to a whole lot of nothing, I guess, for me. I don't know. Played a little bit of Resident Evil 2, some Fortnite. I'm trying to outlive some people still so I can get my challenges done.
You're
but
never getting to 25,000 by Wednesday
no,
night.
I'm not. But so that's pretty much it, I think. Still didn't play my Resident Evil 2 board game. But I'm not on call anymore, so we can.
What do you mean
finally
you're
record.
not on call? I don't think the viewers know what that means.
So my job, first of all, they're not viewing shit. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
You know what I mean,
They're
listeners.
But
Maybe they view it on YouTube if we ever put it on YouTube.
well,
Get the
we'll-
AdSense.
That's not a bad idea. So my job, I'm on call every third week for a week straight, and we will not be recording then. So I don't know how our release schedule is going to be, but it might be like every 2 out of 3 weeks we record something and release it. Not sure yet. But yeah, so I recorded and edited the last podcast, and we're going to be releasing that soon. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
The last two podcasts.
Yes, the last 2 podcasts. And I believe that is it.
I don't have anything else to add. I live a boring life.
So I guess that means on to the main. Nothing happened in horror that we know of?
Not that I can think of. Nothing
Oh,
crazy.
I think the trailer came out for that It documentary that was on Kickstarter, but I'd never watched it.
Didn't know nothing about it.
Yeah, I think they're making like an It documentary from the 1990
Yeah,
movie.
then I did see.
I
Stuff
saw
about
something
that.
like a year ago about it, and then I think the trailer just came out, or maybe footage came out from it. So I want to check that out eventually.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I mean, I think I saw people posting pictures and it's about like Tim Curry, right? Too. Like he's obviously a part of it, but that's
Yeah,
what
he
I've been
played
seeing.
It or
Well, he played
Pennywise.
Pennywise, but I don't know if you ever seen the movie.
Well,
so.
clearly you didn't know Tim Curry was in it.
Okay. Forgot what I was gonna say.
I think Halloween.
Oh, Shout Factory released, or I think since we last recorded, announced that they were putting out a Night of the Creeps Blu-ray and special edition, or was that before last time? Either way, I'm gonna
I
pick
think
that.
it came out. No,
No,
I thought
it's
it
up
was
for
out.
pre-order. No,
Oh.
and if you get like the special edition, comes with the Tom Atkins toy.
Yeah,
which is
yeah, I
cool
saw
as
it on
shit.
Instagram.
And then NECA announced that, or at the toy fair, they put out like a bunch of different horror toys that they're coming out with, and they're coming out with a bunch of the Halloween 3 kids. So if you get the Night of the Creeps Tom Atkins and the Halloween 3 toys, bro, you can play Halloween 3 by yourself.
What do you mean play Halloween 3 by
Stop
yourself?
it.
Stop what?
Stop it. You get it?
Turn it off.
Is that what he says? Well, I think he says stop it at the end. Either way.
Speaking of
What?
playing in horror, I noticed the other day when I jumped on Xbox that a couple of you guys were playing Friday the 13th, the game. Once again,
That's really weird. You wouldn't join when you have the game, Rob. Very strange.
it is no longer downloaded on my Xbox.
Okay, that's
'Cause you're-
that's fucking horseshit if
yeah.
I ever heard it.
Why would you not download your Xbox?
Well, we stopped playing for the longest time, but I was going to ask you if you tell me. So, what's going on with the state of the game these days?
Nothing. They did put
Still
out
sucks.
Well, no. Okay.
Well,
it's
you can't
good.
join a private lobby that takes too long, and then when you play the public lobby, everyone quits and doesn't have a mic.
But the thing
A lot
about
of fun.
But the thing about the public lobby is, like, while people quit, at least they have
Dedicated
host.
servers.
Yeah, dedicated
Yeah,
servers. that's what
dedicated
they have.
servers.
So it's honestly like it's easier to manage now to play quick match, and that's the thing is not enough people play and post in like the private stuff, like looking for a match like we used to do. They don't post as much there
sucks.
because what were we sitting in the lobby 10 minutes with Trav?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, in the prime of that game, I mean, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, you could fill up a lobby in seconds.
Well,
Yeah.
we had like a solid set of 8, like that would
Yeah.
be on at the same time
Yeah.
almost all the time. And I mean, when that game was at its peak, when we were in that was so much. Despite all the bugs actually kind of made it even more fun, to be honest.
Sometimes
Like getting on the roof and stuff like that.
I
like
wish they still had that shit.
putting
When
all
people-
the stuff on the roof.
I like just like fucking with people when like, they're up there. I'm like, that's it. I will report if you don't come down. They're like, oh no, wait, okay, I'm coming.
Or
I'm like-
putting the cars in front of the bridges
Oh
or
my
doors.
God.
I think they might fix that.
Yeah, I believe they did.
When we figured out how to do the bridge thing, that was probably one of the best.
People would rage.
Like,
So if people don't know, when you play the Friday the 13th game, it's 7 counselors versus Jason, and there's certain bridges that were like small enough so where you could park the car on an angle and then get out of the car and you would be on the bridge, and if you did it on both sides, Jason couldn't enter the bridge, but you guys couldn't leave it, but you would still like
you'd survive the time.
you'd survive the
clock.
time limit, which is 20 minutes, and you could just dance and there's nothing he could do to you. He could throw with like knives at you, but chances are he wasn't gonna.
Like, it was legitimate checkmate.
And we found this out because Trav was driving the car and turned it sideways and couldn't get it unstuck on the bridge the one time.
We are literally the worst people ever.
Shout out to Trav.
And it's even worse once we had those dancing emotes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
They've come out with so many more
Just the
too.
disrespect.
Did you play when they came out with like the solo missions?
I think that's right when I dropped off.
Because when if you completed all the solo missions and you did all the objectives, you got new emotes, so they came out with more. But yeah, they did like a big update where they fixed a lot of bugs because now Gun Media, is that who it is?
That's the one that used to have it.
Yeah, so Gun Media doesn't manage the updates anymore. They kind of passed it off to like some Japan-based company, and they like fixed a bunch of the bugs that Gun Media just couldn't figure out for some reason. So it's a lot more manageable, the game, and they just made an update to where it's harder to stun Jason when he's in rage mode. The only thing that can stun him is the gun or Pamela's sweater.
Well, yeah, no, Tommy, I think, is the only one that.
It's just a gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought it
just
was
a
just
shotgun.
Tommy.
No, shotgun in general. And Pamela's sweater is the only way to stun him when he's in rage mode. So people can't just run up and beat his ass.
Like they
And-
used to do with Chad.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
God.
now like when you swing your like weapon, used to be able to only hit one counselor at a time. Now you can swing it and hit all the counselors near you, so they can't just beat your ass.
Yeah,
Dude, it's like Jason's so overpowered, but it's so fun.
It used to be the best when you would.
But that's how it's supposed to be. It should be. He should be overpowered.
Yeah. I mean, you should feel like a walking tank.
Yeah, well, it should be hard. Like, people are escaping too easy. I played, when I was playing by myself the other day.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you caused at least 15 or 20 people to have mental breakdowns.
And to get shit in their pants. That's what they all had shit in their pants. But yeah, I mean, if any listeners ever want to play with me, I'm down. Just find out my gamer tag. It's on my Instagram. I will play with you. I don't care. That Fortnite, we're always looking for a fourth squad. Let us know. All right, and that's about it for that. So we'll move on to the main event. I'm going to pass it over to Rob so he can introduce us to the movie and give us a little factoids about it.
All right. So we decided to do Hellraiser, 1987, written and directed by Clive Barker, music by Christopher Young, and I'll come back to why I'm mentioning Christopher Young. The production title, and one of the original titles, I know Mark can add a little bit to this as well, for the movie was Sadomasochists from Beyond the Grave. That might be able to give you a little insight into the nature of the film if you've never seen it. Mark, did you want to expand at all upon that?
No, there's nothing really to expand about.
It's pretty straightforward. Though.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Well, first they wanted to call it the Hellbound Heart after the novella, they call it. Then, like, I guess it's a short novel that was written.
Right. So it's originally, this is one of those instances where, and I had been talking to Mark about this, where not only was the film written and directed by Clive Barker, but it was based off a novella by Clive Barker. So this is one of those situations where you have the writer of the source material at the helm of not only the screenplay, but of the actual direction of the film. So it is one of those rare instances where all three are kind of connected by a single individual.
Well, he wanted to direct it because he didn't like his other works that people did.
Yeah, and I think this is another kind of big moment too. This is Clive Barker's directorial debut. This is his first film at the helm. The budget was roughly $1 million, with a box office return of $14.5 million. Not stellar, not a crazy return. Films have certainly done far worse, but not the crazy huge return that you would hope for. But honestly, at this point, 1980s, you're dealing with a huge oversaturation in the horror market, and you got a lot of big names out there. Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, man, dominating the slasher films. Freddy Krueger's on the street. Big film out there. Nightmare on Elm Street. So Hellraiser was kind of trying to wedge its way into this market space, dominated by some serious figures. And they managed to add one more to the Hall of Fame with Pinhead. Interesting, though, considering his role in this film. We'll get into that, how he became the standout and later kind of the beacon of the franchise. But I'm going to kick it back to you, Kyle, so we can get this underway.
So it opens up with credits to, like, the box. What is the name of that box?
So it's got a
Rubik's Cube.
It's got a couple names. So in the Hellbound Heart, we're looking at it as the Lemerkant configuration.
Yeah.
But traditionally, this will become known as the Lament configuration. We just kind of know it as the puzzle box for now.
Right, because I don't think they give it a name in this.
No. The mythos kind of gets extended in the second film.
Most of the mythos is not in this movie.
Yeah. This is honestly, you can watch this standalone.
Yes.
And be perfectly fine. As with most films that spawn a million sequels, the mythos gets quite convoluted. So we'll call it, for this one, we will call it the puzzle box.
Yeah, so the open credits, it kind of leads to the puzzle box, and there's a guy who's buying it. I'm assuming he's buying it, not just taking it in a foreign country from some guy.
Morocco.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
And the guy who's giving it to him says, take the box. It's yours.
Okay, first thing before I go any further, why are both their fingernails disgusting?
Because they're in a foreign country. It looks like it's the Amazon.
Okay, but the guy who's buying it is Frank.
Okay.
His fingernails are dirty too. That's the first thing I noticed. Someone cleaned these guy's fingernails.
Yeah,
it's
but
gross as hell.
It looks like it's in a market in like a hot area. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think it's exactly clean in a street market all the time. But anyway, he says, "Take the box, it's yours." And then when Frank's going away, he's like, "Always was." So then it shows Frank, who we find out later is Frank. It's a guy sitting in a square of candles, which I appreciate because it's not the normal circle.
Well, I'm not into like Satanism ritual, so I don't know much about it.
No, but I see what you're like. Normally, it's the conventional circle or the pentagram or whatever.
No,
but
yeah, I'm literally just kidding.
now it's your.
But it's
nice,
like a square.
Cause it's a cube.
Oh shit! And so he opens the box and then there's some glowing lights in the room through the walls and stuff. There's like lights that come in and then hooks shoot out and on chains and rip into his skin.
I do like how in the 80s, like the movies like this have the terrible like graphical stuff added later for lights that look terrible. You know how when he touches the box and like blue lights come out of it or something like that?
Right. Like the shitty editing.
I love that.
Yeah. No, I like just the real tacky lightning stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that in 80s movies.
And then there's shots of like a beat up old house. It almost looks abandoned because as they move through different shots in the house, there's nobody in it, but you can see it's been used. There's food laying out, bugs, beaten up house.
Yeah, that's another thing I said when I saw this house. I said, I hope no one's living in this house.
Yeah, because there's like maggots straight coming out of food bowls.
Yeah, and cockroaches.
Mold. I think there's like a banana in a bowl, and there's just. It looks like mold's been growing up.
But yeah, it's like a bunch of food.
Yeah, this house has not been. It was evicted. It was evicted quickly and has not been lived in for some time.
I know for the movie they had to hire like cockroach wranglers to make sure there was no female and male cockroaches in the house, so it didn't make an infestation.
That's gotta be terrible.
It's because they filmed in London,
right?
So like, there's a law for movie sets that use cockroaches for that.
Did not know that.
That's a little crazy, man.
And then it goes to a room with a bunch of hooks and chains and body parts hanging on them, and there's those things that you see in like a store with like sunglasses on it or postcards that revolves, and there's just a bunch of body parts on it.
Oh, the pillars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they literally look like one of
sunglass rack of body parts.
Yeah,
no, dead ass.
Like where you can be like, which one do I want? This one looks good. Hold on, let me keep turning it though in case I find a better one. Yeah, and it shows a bunch of beings, I guess later come to known as Cenobites, right? They come in.
You said bagel bites?
Yes, bagel bites, Cenobites. They come walking in. They're all leathered up and stuff. And the character known as Pinhead, he's not known. He's just known as the head Cenobite in this one,
or the priest.
And the reason he is the head one is because he has the least amount of effects makeup. I don't know if you guys know that. That's why he has that like leading role, because everyone else has like stuff over their face, so it's harder for them to talk.
Right, and that's why. And we're gonna circle back to this later. A lot of the lines that Doug Bradley has as Pinhead in this were never really intended to be his lines. There are a lot of lines that were originally going to be split up amongst the several other Cenobites, but due to prosthetics, it becomes an issue. So it's very fun. It's kind of fate how we'll come back into this. Some of these iconic lines were never really intended for him to begin with. So interesting how that worked out.
Right.
Yeah, and he didn't even want to play that character.
Right, because as a first-time actor, his mindset was, it's important for people to see your face and to make you recognizable. I think his original role he went out for will come up is for one of the furniture movers.
Yeah, and then I think the other furniture mover they offered the role to, and he said, "No, I want people to see my face. I don't want to wear like makeup or a mask."
Right, and I think Doug Bradley, there was a commentary somewhere, I can't remember where I saw it, where like he said his mother cried, like when she saw his name in the opening credits of the film, and that was the last time that she was happy for the next 2 hours. Because she was not happy with his role. But like I said, Doug Bradley, this carved out an icon for him. But let's get back in. We're doing some character introductions right now. So we have the first Cenobites, the sunglasses of flesh, and what else?
So he shifts like the box a little bit and closes it, and all the chains and everything disappear. All the gore, it's gone. There's just an empty.
This is the part with the lights. like where the lights come out of the box.
Oh, right, to like clean everything up and
Yeah.
And I like how they
cheesy
were like
effects.
trying to piece together a human face, which we can assume was Frank's face. Like they were picking up pieces and putting them together on the table, like in a puzzle piece, and like his eye was still moving.
Oh, like when like on the like the chains and stuff.
Yeah,
or on
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the
And it's
hooks.
like-
yeah.
and his like eye was still looking around, and I was like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, and then a couple comes walking into the home, who you find out is Larry and Julia. And Larry it's his house or his family's house, and they haven't been there in about 10 years, I think he says. But he figures that Frank's been in and out squatting, and then they actually find a bunch of stuff that Frank had, all the food in the house, and on the third floor, second floor, one of the floors.
Third floor.
Yeah, I think it's in the third floor. He has like a mattress and a bunch of stuff. And as Larry's in the kitchen, Julia's upstairs taking a look through all the stuff and finds pictures of Frank with like a bunch of women all like tied up.
Well, before that, like Larry was trying to convince her to move in, and she's like, "All right, whatever, I'll do it." And then when she sees the picture, she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna move in."
Yeah, when she sees that Frank had been there.
Yeah. But also, the girl that plays Julia, when they saw the premiere of the movie, she walked out because she hated seeing the movie and seeing herself in that movie. And supposedly, she's never watched Hellraiser ever in her life.
Well, I mean, I don't blame her. Her acting isn't the best in it.
Well, she hates horror movies. That's why.
Oh, well, that could be it too.
I'm sure it had nothing to do with the several scenes of her being. Yeah, we're gonna go into that.
So then the phone rings and Larry runs down. He's like, what is that noise? He runs downstairs and the phone's ringing. And
He's never heard a phone before. That's why.
And he answers the phone.
Dang it, what is that?
He answers the phone and it's Kirsty, his daughter.
Kirsty, yeah.
I have a question. One, how the fuck does she have the phone number for this house? Two, would they just pay the fucking phone bill and nobody's living there for 10 years?
Well, yeah, all the lights and stuff were on. And how did she know they were going to be there exactly at that time?
That's the third thing I was going to
Unless
say.
she's just sit there and
They
calls.
literally just walked in, so how the fuck did she...
How did people do this before life without cell phones?
Like, you there yet? Can I call the house phone? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, they just walked in the room and they were like, "No one's been here
Well,
for
that's what I'm
10
saying. They
years."
literally just
and then
walked in the
phone
house.
rings.
And suddenly she calls. Like I said, how does she have the number? Who the fuck's paying the phone bill?
I mean,
Why are you paying the phone bill for a house that nobody lives in? I guess, I mean, it ain't for Frank. They just assume he squats there sometimes. They don't even know if he's in jail, where the fuck he is. Larry's like on the phone with Kirsty trying to convince her to like, hey, come live with them. And she's like, no, I found a place of my own. And I think that's when Julia finds the pictures of Frank with women. And then that's when she decides that, like, okay, yeah, we can move in.
Yeah.
It cuts to them moving in on a Sunday. He notes Sunday. I don't know if that represents anything.
Does it say it's on a
religious.
Sunday, or how do you know
He says we're moving in on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
He's like, great, because we're moving in Sunday. So I don't know if that has something to do with like a religious aspect of it. I don't really, or I don't really know.
It's hard to say with the Hellraiser films. Being that I've seen, most of the series, it's hard for me to like talk about this film without bringing others into it. But
yeah,
isolating just this film,
right.
I would say, probably means nothing. If I were to look at it from the lens of other films, everything means something.
Yeah, we're still gonna refer to him as Pinhead. Yeah,
That's fine. I mean, he is an icon.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He becomes known as Pinhead after this movie, but okay, yeah.
Well, they don't use the name Pinhead, I think, till Hellworld.
Is it the third one?
No.
Fourth?
It's the one Hellworld. I think it's the ones that were made in like 2005. Like they had two movies made in the same year.
Yeah, that was 2005.
I don't think anyone
In the movie calls him.
I don't think like in the movie verse itself, like in its in universe.
Yeah, but I'm saying in the movie they call him like Pinhead and like Hellworld. I know that.
Right. I don't think it's until that point, but I think after
At that
this
point.
film, Pinhead.
Like the makeup crew called him Pinhead just to know what they were doing.
Right, and it kind of got catchy. It got catchy. It caught on, and after Hellraiser 2, I think the initial plan was to have Julia be the driving force in this franchise, and she was like, "Yeah, no, I ain't doing this." And they were like, "Well," and the fans really were behind Pinhead being the driving force of the franchise.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know that's what happened for both good and bad reasons. But back here, so
Right.
now
So-
we're moving in. We've
Yeah.
got these these moving guys coming in here.
Right. They start moving in. The moving guys are there. And one of them looks at Julia and is like, hey, like, you got any beer? And at this point, you could kind of tell there's something like weird about her. Like, I don't know if she's like a strong or standoff woman, because she's like, yeah, in the refrigerator. And Larry's just standing there like,
Okay, but he kisses her on the lips at one point.
I
But
guess,
Larry's like,
who does?
well,
Larry when she first comes inside, she's like, "Oh, hey, Dad," and like kisses her on her lip. They kiss each other on the lips.
I'm talking about Julia.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant
Kirsty?
I thought you meant Kirsty because
No.
Kirsty comes in when the mattress is in the way.
Yeah, I did notice that too.
Yeah,
That made
But
me
I'm
upset.
saying before this, like, you could tell that like Julia's like a standoffish kind of woman, or there's something like weird, or they're
yeah,
not.
and
in
then
the-
Larry's
like, she's not happy.
and then Larry's a bitch.
Yeah,
because
'cause he's
Larry's
like,
like, I got nothing better to do.
He's like,
I'll
yeah.
just go get it.
Okay, I guess I'll go get it. And then like she goes upstairs. Julia goes upstairs, and the moving people are kind of watching her.
Yeah, they're
then
checking her
Kirsty
out.
comes, and so Kirsty lives, I'm assuming, in a city. And when you see her, she just walks up to the house. Like, there's shots of her like walking along a waterfront in some industrial looking area, and then suddenly she's out in the fucking boonies walking up to the house. I don't know if she walked 18 miles to get there.
And well, one of the things I want to point out too is it's funny that when she starts talking to her dad, and they introduce her into the plot in that way. She does do that thing where she does a quick kiss on the lips. Meant to be like innocent father-daughter thing.
Yeah, it's still fucking weird.
That's weird.
It lingers a little bit, and
I
then
mean,
it's
I don't
even,
blame him as an actor, but
it's even weirder if you know that in the novella, Kirsty's character is not the daughter of Larry. Larry's name is different in Hellbound Heart. Kirsty is actually, I think Larry's name is Rory, if I remember correctly. Kirsty's actually Rory's friend and is in love with him and is jealous of Julia. So, like, you look back and you say that kiss, you're like, did you forget that you're his kid or the lover? Not sure. But no, you're right.
I think it was just something innocent, but it just came off. I mean, I don't know. I still kiss my mom, but not on the lips. It's always like a cheek thing.
Maybe it's a cultural thing. Like, we're just...
That's what I'm saying. Maybe back then it was like, okay, normal. I don't know. I don't
know. My mom hugs me and I'm a little squeamish.
Yeah, I don't understand. But one of the movers is like, is that your daughter? She has her mother's looks. And then Larry gets all pissed off. He's like, her mother's dead. Dude, at that point I was like, oh my God.
That was the most serious he gets in this whole film, I think, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think so. And then it shows Julia looking at the pictures of Frank and women again, and she rips one. Is that supposed to be her in that picture, or just another girl and she's like mad at the fact
I think
that it's
she's
another
just
girl?
ripping the other girl out of the photo so she can just have Frank. She just likes that picture of Frank.
Right.
And so it is a very sensual picture.
Right.
And this is where the flashback memory reliving it in real time sequence begins.
The first of many flashbacks.
Yes.
Yeah,
which
when I
is
first watched
quite
this,
fucking annoying.
I was like, wait, is this real? Like, where did this dude just come from?
Yeah, so in the flashback, somebody's knocking at the door. Frank is knocking at a door, and Julia answers, and it's raining out. And she's like, hello? And he's like, oh, are you going to let me in? And she's like, well, who the fuck are you? Like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, I'm Frank, Larry's brother. I'm here for the wedding.
And he calls us and he goes, I'm Brother Frank.
Yeah,
and you're like,
Brother Frank.
Why are you so intense right now? Like,
I don't know.
It's worth noting that due to production issues, about halfway through production, and I believe it was halfway through, they wanted to change the setting from a UK setting to a mid-Atlantic United States style setting. So a lot of the actors, there's inconsistencies. Some actors get dubbed by other actors later on, and Frank has this problem because they went back and re-recorded Frank's audio sometimes. Sometimes Frank has a little bit of a British accent, and sometimes he's recorded with a deeper voice. And we'll get into this. 2 actors play Frank in this film.
Right.
2 separate actors. And so there's just something off right away about Frank's performance and his voice. Unsettling.
That's like the first time we meet Larry. I was going to say that. I thought he was trying to be British, and then like his next sentence he was speaking with
like
an American accent.
Yeah.
But then I Googled the actor, and he's from America, I believe. So I don't know if that was just something that was messed up or...
I have no idea. Yeah, I just think there's, because of a little bit of studio meddling, there are some inconsistencies there. But Frank shows up, all kinds of overdone tension.
That's one way to put it.
I mean,
Yeah.
The first thing I thought of when she opened that door is if you could just play the song "Hungry Eyes." He just brooding, and he kind of overplays it a little bit.
Yeah, he's very intense, like out of 10 all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't get. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just his personality. But it cuts to. Well, he says like, "Oh, do you have a towel?" Right?
Yeah, and then it switches to Kirsty or Christy, whatever her
Kirsty,
freaking name is,
who
asking
just-
for a towel.
Yeah. So like that line becomes like Kirsty asking for a towel because she just wet herself trying to use the sink for some reason. She doesn't know how to fucking use the sink and it sprays her with water, so she needs a towel.
It's old pipes in the house.
But as she's drying off, she's like talking to Julia, and she's like, Julia, and somehow Julia's one floor up now and standing in like the stairwell, looking down, all fucking. This movie is corny to the fucking max. She's like looking down, and like Kirsty's like looking up, but like they can't see each other because the floor's in the way. But I feel like it's trying to be like a romantic, like fucking.
Well, yeah, that's what Clive Barker said. He viewed it as a romantic love,
horror.
Yeah, or like a love story.
Oh, I get that makes sense in that sense.
And like
But that's a really awkward fucking like.
that
Why,
shot.
why isn't Julia just like or Kirsty
Now,
like?
but that shot,
Julia?
if Kirsty wasn't the daughter and Kirsty was the friend who was a lover, that shot might have been a little more dramatic and like purposeful, like division between the two of them. But like it just doesn't make sense. It's a weird shot. I even said it stood out to me. Like, why are you standing up there just like brooding, looking
Yeah.
over the banister?
It's fucking awkward.
And Julia does a lot of that in this movie. A lot of brooding.
That should be her name. She's part of the Brood, I think. Is that what the WWE Gangrel, the Brood?
I can't remember.
Oh, never mind. Okay, forget that then. So then it goes back to the flashback, and Frank seduces Julia, and then they start banging on top of Julia's fucking wedding dress.
Yeah.
I guess it's like her wedding day, and he's like, "Can I kiss the bride?" or something like that. All fucking corny.
Yeah, dude. And just like in case you don't know, this is one of those scenes that got heavily censored.
Oh, I'm sure. It did.
So we know he has the switchblade in this scene, correct?
I don't know. Does he take it out?
So like,
Oh
there's
yeah,
that
because he
scene-
cuts her.
He's seducing her, and
her
then she's
nightgown,
like
yeah.
trying to hold back from it, and he pulls out this switchblade, and it's really interesting because in the original cut, like Clive Barker goes on record saying he's like, yeah, there was some S&M spanking that was supposed to happen, and the MPA got all mad at me because they said I could have only 2 crotch thrusts, and I wanted 3, and 3 was too many. And then he's like, you know what? They just said that I could ditch the sodomy, but it was okay to have a switchblade. And I said, oh, excuse me? So apparently this scene originally did not include the switchblade. Apparently this whole scene was way more sexually explicit, and we know that during this time MPAA was cracking down, and they told him that it was okay if he limited the amount of hip thrusts from Frank, and they switched out some sodomy for a switchblade. But that just goes along the lines of how crazy the MPAA was at that time. Just like
They were editing everything all the time.
they were editing everything all the time, but it was like weird things they were oddly specific about, and then other things they were totally cool with.
Well, it's just like laws. You have a certain like rule, and like you just have to abide by it. That's how standards get set.
Yeah.
And they were strict on that shit, but they
Oh.
were willing to negotiate.
Well, yeah,
For
that
sure.
scene gave them like an X rating too.
Yeah, it got Clive Barker had to do a lot of editing.
Yeah, and that's why it has an R rating. I don't know if we said that earlier. And as he's like thrusting Julia, they go back and forth between like the flashback and Larry, who's helping the movers move one of the mattresses upstairs. And when he finally gets the mattress loose, Larry cuts his hand on a nail that's sticking out of the banister. So for some reason, when he cuts himself, he goes right to the 3rd floor. I don't know how he knows Julia's even up there.
Yeah,
but
he has
he
that
goes,
weird moment where he holds his hand. He's like, Julia. Like,
yeah, but he goes like to the top floor though. How the fuck does he know she's up there? Dude, she could be anywhere in this fucking house.
yeah.
But he goes straight to the 3rd floor, and when he like it's blood's dripping from his hand, and he's holding it. He says he doesn't want to take a look at it. She has to look at it. Again, him being a little bitch and her being the strong woman. But as he's walking, like blood's dripping. But when they show close-ups of the blood dripping on the floor, it's always in the same spot, even though he's walking to her.
Yeah.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, it's just like I mean, it's not exactly the same exact spot. There's like a very small area where it's dripping though. the blood drips on the floor and it gets like sucked into the floor, absorbed into the floor, and then they leave. They walk out of the room, and the floorboards start to move, and then up from the floorboards, it's some stuff that's oozing out and begins to form like a decayed body. First, it starts with like arms, kind of. I don't know if that's supposed to be like bones.
Yeah, it looks like
what
it's,
first.
It's this.
It's weird because there's like arms, like bones in the arms that come up and start like lifting up the spine, but the spine's like all the like the nerves.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's
and
like
then
the
like
spinal cord.
there's like a weird part where like the spinal cord falls forward and attaches to a brain.
Yeah, brain that's like forming and
Yeah. I mean, what I will say about that scene though is that's some cool practical effects.
yeah.
That's a lost art these days. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I was trying to think of how they did some of that stuff. The brain, I think that honestly they could have like did in reverse,
Yeah, they did that a lot.
but the like skeleton forming and then pushing itself up, that I don't think that was in reverse. I
I
don't
mean,
know how they did that, but that did look really fucking cool.
I thought
especially
it
for
could have
the
been
time.
like claymation. It could have been
like stop motion.
stop
kind of thing.
motion maybe.
I thought that too.
But I mean,
wasn't
just
sure.
that like, oh,
Full disclosure, it could have been the quality of the one that Travis gave me was straight dog shit, and everything looked like it was in stop motion. Dude, it was fucking terrible.
Is it like when you watch Silent Night, Deadly Night, and they add in the deleted scenes?
No,
and
no,
it
no.
looks
Because
terrible?
that looks like it's old and like got like no editing on it. What he gave me, literally, like the quality was so bad, it had to have been less frames per second or something. So it looked like stop motion the whole movie until my eyes got used to it, and then it stopped looking like that. It was terrible. It like hurt
That
my
sounds-
head
that
at
sounds
first to watch
horrible.
it, but I had to watch it.
good old
so.
Trav, reliable with
yeah.
the movies.
And I think originally, I guess this is considered Skinless Frank now.
Yes,
We don't know that yet, but they wanted this to be the picture on the poster, and the studio said absolutely not. And they said you could put Pinhead there.
Then they put a lot of restrictions, huh?
Yeah, the studio said no, Pinhead's going there. They said all right, good.
So it cuts to the dinner, and they're all talking about how when Larry was at the doctor, and I guess the doctor was like doing stuff to him.
That's just the most awkward dinner party ever.
But I love Larry because he's like, somebody's like, well, sue him. He's like, you're right. I'll sue his ass. When he says that,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
No, he'd get along great with me and Mark because
Yeah.
we suing everybody.
Yes,
out
we
here.
are.
Taking him to Judge Judy and shit. But then Kirsty and like the dinner date, which I didn't know his name until
Steve?
Yeah, until the very end. I had no idea. I tried looking up what character that was, and I had no.
they
fucking
don't do a
idea.
really good job of setting him up at all, and he really goes nowhere.
Yeah, like literally almost zero character development out of this
It's
guy.
like it's the 80s.
Yeah.
She has to have a boyfriend.
But his name is Steve, which I didn't even know they were like dating. At
Yeah, I
first
didn't.
or
I
anything
thought he
like
was
that.
just like a creepy dude trying to
yeah,
bang.
Yeah, but he's like doing like tricks with cigarettes,
Yeah,
like
it's
putting it
gross.
in his mouth and out. Yeah, smoking's one of the grossest habits in the world. FYI for anybody that's listening. But then like she's like giving him like googly eyes, like she's trying to fuck and stuff. And then
And like
he's-
Larry's watching
And then
this
like,
too.
yo,
Well,
they're at the dinner party, and this are you about to go into the line that I think you're about to go? But
yeah,
she's
so
like,
well, like
yeah.
people are pouring like I don't know if it's wine or something for each other. So then he starts pouring it for her, and she's like, "That's okay. I'm not gonna be able to stand up." And he's like, "So lie down." And Larry just looks
And
at
it-
him like,
but it cuts
yeah,
right to
he's
Larry's.
right.
Yeah.
It cuts right to Larry's
Yeah.
face, and he's like, "You go get her, Tiger." Like,
like,
That's what
whoa.
I'm saying. It's so
That's your
awkward this dinner
kid.
party.
Yeah, that's his fucking daughter.
And then like they always show Julia, and she just looks pissed off.
yeah, and so Julia's not having a good time, and she gets up to excuse herself.
And when she did this, I said, I bet she's gonna go upstairs and like look at those pictures of Frank and get
Yeah.
horny or something.
Yeah. So she's like saying goodbye to everyone, hugging everyone and smiling. Then she just looks at Larry all fucking mad. And at this point, you really know there's something wrong in this relationship. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, she goes straight up to the third. I guess it's the third floor. It's hard. I don't, it's not the second floor because she goes
No.
higher than that, but I don't know if there's like a fourth floor.
Yeah, I think it's the third floor.
Yeah. So she goes up to the third floor, and then she's up in the room where Frank started forming, and he like grabs her leg. He's like a decayed upper body. I don't even know
Yes.
if he has legs yet.
Skinless Frank.
Yes, that's his name, Skinless Frank. Grabs her legs and she's like, "Holy shit!" and starts running. But then he like crawls to the door before she can open it, and he slams it and stops her. And then he's like saying how he needs help because the blood that was spilled, the little bit of blood that Larry spilled on the
3
floorboards,
drops.
yeah, for some reason brought him back to life. Which, okay, another thing, if Larry never blood up there, there's no story, right? Because Frank's not coming back.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone else got to bleed at some point.
And actually, in the
Nobody has to bleed in that room ever.
and actually in the novella, the whole reason Frank even comes back is because Larry in the book, his blood hits the floor, but it mixes with Frank's semen.
Great, Rob. Now I don't have to read it. Thanks a lot, man. Ruin it. Spoiler alert. Like,
Spoiler alert.
But yeah, it mixes with his semen, and that's what brings it back. But still, it's just like your whole plot's deriving on the fact that he's going to bleed there one day.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so if he never bled there, none of this ever happens.
No plot, yeah. But like they never specify if it has to be Larry's blood.
No, I'm not saying it has to be Larry.
Or
Flint, but I'm
does it
saying
have to be that room too?
Does that be
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if nobody bled in that room, because that's what it seems like. That room is the one
because
that's
where
enchanted.
Frank was torn apart, according so far that we
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And so that's the crime scene.
Yeah. So
Insert Law and Order.
Yeah.
he's saying like, I need your help. You need to bring more people for me, because I need blood.
Yeah, and she's
Which-
like,
but-
no.
Yeah,
And then he's like, I need blood. Okay, no problem.
because in one of the I think earlier in the flashbacks, he says like, she's like, you'll do anything for me, right? And then I think they go back to that flashback later on. I don't know if that happened yet. No, it's not. So
it's hard to keep track of these
yeah,
flashbacks because
there's
they're
so many flashbacks.
weirdly sequenced.
They really are. So, but after he asks for help, Kirsty is walking with the boy. Well, she goes to the bathroom upstairs, and I think Frank kind of insinuates like, "Yeah, give me Kirsty," and then Julia's like, "No, that's not happening."
Yeah.
But then they show Kirsty walking with Steve to a subway because I guess they live in a city, which might be Brooklyn because they mentioned Brooklyn in the beginning. Again, like a fucking house in the middle of nowhere, and then suddenly they walk and see a hobo, and then they're in like a subway kissing. I don't.
Yeah, man.
No taxis, nothing. They're walking.
It's clean. It's a pretty clean subway, so I'm going to say
It
it's
did
not
look clean
Brooklyn.
as fuck. That did.
That
Yeah,
is not Brooklyn. We've been to Brooklyn. That is not Brooklyn.
that's not Brooklyn. But then it shows Larry sleeping, and I guess he was like real drunk because he's talking in his sleep, and Julia's awake just sitting up in bed, and then it goes back to the flashback and where she promises that she would do anything for Frank. So she goes upstairs to Frank, and she's like, "All right, I'll do it. I'll help." Like Mark said, like at first,
No, but even before that, like in that scene when she's talking to him the first time, she's like, no, I can't do that. And she's like, okay, I'll do it.
well, she says about Kirsty.
No, but I'm talking about like helping him in like the same tense as she's like, no. And then she's like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, because she remembers she promised him.
Yeah.
She loves him.
I just like how Frank's always like, "Don't look at me," and I'm like, "Oh, but I've seen you."
Yeah, I don't
Like-
get it.
It's just the weirdest times he does it. Like he'll be doing something, like you just jumped. I'm a flashback. Like he just jumped out, grabbed her by the ankle, rushed her up against the door, and then it's like, "It's me, it's Frank," and she's like, Frank's like, "Don't look at
Oh
me."
yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, because she has no idea. She just sees this thing crawling after her. She's like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "I'm Frank." She's like, "Oh shit, it's just you, Frank."
Just you, Frank, covered in blood and
Damn, looking like a decayed ass fucking corpse, and
looking like a whole snack.
looks like the corpse from Return of the Living Dead before it gets released from the fucking
Yeah.
drum. All shriveled up and shit. So Kirsty's dreaming. Kirsty, she's dreaming, and there's like feathers falling. I'm assuming this is like a direct scene from like the novella or something like that.
Yeah,
Or Clive Barker, I don't fucking know.
it's one of those scenes
Trying
that
to
just
be
doesn't
fucking cool.
translate well.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Kirsty kind of envisioning the future as to how things are going to go. But it just feels very out of place and unusual, and the effects in the scene for the corpse that ends up appearing is not that good.
But the thing is, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I just don't know what the whole thing is though. I think it's supposed to be Larry, right?
Yeah, it's
hard and
it's
That's the
Better.
only thing that. Well, I don't think it's supposed to be tarred.
Wasn't there some liquid poured on him at
Yeah,
something
think
and
of-
then feathers thrown on him?
no, it looks like he's under a white sheet.
Yeah,
it's
and-
like bleed.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Or blood and feathers, not tar.
yeah, she's like
That's for commercial, sorry.
there's a lot of symbolism about purity and
I guess that's
light,
maybe what it is.
and then juxtaposed against the crimson red and death.
yeah.
Maybe it's supposed to be like, it's tough.
So there's a sheet and there's like clearly a person under it, and blood starts soaking into the sheet. Well, it looks like the shape of a body, and then blood slowly starts soaking into the sheet until the whole sheet's like covered in blood. She pulls it off, and then it's Larry, which I had to rewind to even see that it was Larry.
Pop up Larry.
Yeah, he like sits up like the Undertaker and looks at her.
That's where the Undertaker got his move from.
Yeah.
I think so. But like I had to rewind it because I couldn't even tell. And even when I rewound it, I paused it because I was like, "Who the fuck is that?"
You also were watching clay animation, so
Oh
it's
yeah,
looked a little
you're
bit
right.
different than me and Rob's
I
version.
literally could not see shit. So yeah, it's Larry, and then it's her dad. So she wakes up and she calls him to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, and
Right, and he picks up the phone. He's like, "Never better, sweetie," and it's just like a weird.
And doesn't he have to go downstairs to answer the phone?
Yeah, like
Yes.
he
There's
trumps-
one
he does-
phone in this whole house.
Yeah, he just like,
9 stories high, one phone.
he bumbles downstairs
moved
and,
in.
he picks up the phone. He's like, "Hello." She's like, "Hi, Daddy. Are you okay?" And he's like, "Never better, sweetie. It's late. Why?" Like, not like, I swear to God, if I call my parents in the middle of the night and I'm a grown ass person and I call my parents, "Hey, just want to check if you're okay. I had a nightmare. You were not okay." Pretty sure my father and mother would be like, "Don't ever call me again this time of night."
Yeah.
That kind of crap. But he goes back upstairs and he tells Julie, and she's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing. Kirsty just had a nightmare."
Well, he says she had a nightmare.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Who?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, that's it. The only person that has her number, Kirsty."
So, kind of what you're kind of led to believe is that this is not an abnormal occurrence. Maybe this is normal. You can tell that this family dynamic is horrifically busted up. Kirsty's real mom's dead. They never really go into it. She having the nightmares and visions because of that. Why? Does Larry know that Julia had an affair? Like, there's just so much that we don't go into.
I wouldn't be surprised if Larry knew because he's like a little bitch. It was like, okay, it's no problem.
Got cucked by his brother.
But oh yeah, so I don't know if we mentioned earlier, Larry and Julia are a couple. They're like together, but Julia is not Kirsty's
Real
daughter.
mom.
Wait. Oh yeah, real mom. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's
Kirsty,
stepmother.
Kirsty is her stepdaughter. Well, I don't even know if they're married.
Yeah, we don't know if are they married? Like,
But either way, and because like
well,
you
they
can
gotta
tell
be
that
married
her.
because remember she was banging on the wedding dress.
Oh yes, yeah, you're right, and you can tell that like Kirsty and Julia don't get along. Like they don't exactly like each other, and that could be where some of the tension's coming in.
Yeah.
I guess.
So
But then they show, I think, Frank again. And does he have to eat or no? Like, does he use the bathroom or is he just up there mushy and bloody,
I don't know. I
like
don't even know
waiting
if he's
for
really
more people
alive.
to not bleed?
But some of the stuff that creeps me out is like, like some of his lines, like, "Ooh, like I can feel the nerves again," and I'm like, "Okay, Frank, you're freaking me out." For all of our listeners out there, I think we are unified in our thoughts that Frank is ridiculously creepy. Makeup effects or not, that guy is just creepy. Mark, you want to add to that?
No, well, yeah, he's just a creepy looking dude, but it's whatever. He looks cool. I think it looks cool. It's creepy, but it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, his effects on the way he looks in this.
I think they did a good job with the
Yeah.
effects and makeup and stuff, honestly.
Yeah, especially later on down the line when he's regenerating a little bit more and he's more like muscle tissue, and it's just like permanently bleeding. That looks real good.
Yeah, well, not bleeding, but he's always like wet.
Yes,
I do like, but I know towards the end of the movie, I've read something that they had a problem with, like they ran out of money.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it later.
Go into
But I think a lot of it went to just straight Frank because he looks so good. Not only when he's first forming, but even when he's like what they call monster Frank, when he's literally just like skin or skinless, and he's like muscle tissue or
sinewy and bone.
yeah,
and stuff.
sinewy.
He
like,
looks good.
Yeah, that's the one
good
thing
effects.
they really did do a good
Them
job
and
on.
the Cenobite costumes, I think they were really done.
Dude, anybody can go to BDSM store. It ain't that hard, bro.
Yeah, but Frank, you got to highlight great job on the team on that one. Really well done.
Yeah. So then Julia goes out and she's drinking at some like classy bar. Kind of think, did we already go over this? No, right?
No.
She's at like a classy bar drinking by herself when she's.
Can we stop for a minute?
What?
how many bars look like that at like 2:00 in the afternoon?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like a classy bar, you know?
It looks like an airport bar. Like,
That's what I thought too.
it looks like an airport
But
bar.
then I was like, why the fuck is she at an airport?
And then like even the guy is like, "Oh, are you traveling alone?" Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Where did she just go to like LaGuardia and just pick up some dude
well,
in
that
between flights?
to be honest,
What airport is she even at? We don't even know where this
if
is."
you're looking for like a person who no one would like, I mean, if they're just traveling and no one's gonna miss easily, like that's the place to do it.
Yeah.
So he looks like a businessman.
Pro tip for the listeners.
Yes. Don't do it though. Because we don't want to get blamed for any of that shit. Delete that shit. Delete all that shit.
From your mind.
I ain't messing with you, Peggy. But there's like a guy in a suit and he has to drink with her. And she's like, oh, why don't we go back to my house? So they go, she brings him home. She brings him like upstairs. And, dude,
Yo.
he's like, this isn't the bedroom. She's like, well, we don't need a bed, right? He's so horny. He's like, yeah, fuck it. You're right. We don't need a bed. Fuck this. So, dude, I love
what I like is
when she's
before they even get up there, like he's trying to kiss her and he's like, you're not going to fucking change your mind, are you? And he's like mad at him a second. She's like,
now that's toxic masculinity.
that's toxic masculinity.
That
And then
right
he's like,
there.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
He's like, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get laid, sir. My bad.
And then he just drags him upstairs.
When they go upstairs, and then she's like, "Oh, why don't you take off your jacket?" And he's like, "Well, aren't you gonna do the same?" She's like, "I guess." And then like he takes off his pants. And he's just in his fucking underwear, dude. He's fucking tidy whities from the straight fucking 90s. Never fucking seen him since then. He like walks up, and tries kissing her. And how did she get him? Oh, he says he has to use the bathroom, right? He's like,
Yeah,
oh,
he turns
I
around
gotta,
to use the door, and that's
he's
when
like,
she.
oh, I have to like piss. Should have did that beforehand.
Yeah, it honestly looks like the hammer that she takes off the hook is like the cleanest hammer or
Yeah,
the
like-
cleanest thing in that house.
Yeah, they just bought from fucking Home Depot.
And when this scene, when she kills him, they had a close up of the hammer, I guess, either hitting the head or in the head, and the MPA made them cut that too.
Yeah,
The MPAA.
Yeah, but
she hits him with a hammer, like in the back of the head.
But
to
I
death.
didn't notice it first on this kill.
Uh-huh.
Strike in the back of the head, then he turns around, and is like, no, like having like that moment where like, no, literally like, get Mickey beg for my life, like,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do? And then she nails him right in the face, and when he drops to the floor, it took me a second to realize that his jaw was all kinds of mangled.
never really paid that much attention.
Like
to
they
it.
did a lot of prosthetic work on the bottom jaw,
Uh-huh.
where like teeth punched through the lip and everything.
Dude, I literally couldn't tell what the fucking one I was
Well, I mean,
watching.
you were watching stop motion.
I
like-
literally, it was the worst quality I've ever seen.
But I'll tell you that was great.
And then Frank comes like out of the shadows to. What does he do? Does he like eat the people? Does he?
It seems like he drains
drinks the
their
blood?
blood.
But how? Or does he just take their life force?
I mean, later on in the film, he sticks his
what-
fingers in their throat, and I guess he absorbs it by contact.
Maybe. I guess because like I don't know.
And but he pulls another one. Don't look at me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right, Frank.
So she goes to leave the room, and if you notice, she doesn't. Her like backs to the door. She doesn't unlock the fucking door. She just opens it up and walks out.
Yeah, and then this is right around. Is this when Larry comes home,
No.
or is that second?
no, it was his time. It was his time.
So can we talk about how she's such a terrible planner? That it's not like Larry comes home early or something. It's Larry's regular time to come home from work, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm home." She's like, "Oh, son of a."
Well, first, but before he comes in the door, she like goes into the bathroom, and I don't know if she showers or she just gets changed, but she goes back into like the room where Frank is.
And she still has blood on her, by the way.
Yes. So I'm assuming she just got changed because of
Looks
that.
like she just took her shirt off.
Yeah.
Walk around in her
But-
bra with blood on her
Well,
chest.
not even just her bra. She had like a fucking lingerie on, which is fucking weird.
Maybe she was hoping Frank would be fully regenerated, and
I
she
don't
came
know.
back. She's like, "No, you're still looking too
But-
corpsey."
So yeah, he's more whole than he was, but he's not. He definitely ain't finished yet. And he's like, yes, her to
One or
get-
two
yeah,
more.
Yeah, he says one or two more, and he's like, every drop of blood you spill puts more flesh on my bones. He's getting me horny out there. That's fucking metal as fuck, dude. If I ever seen a metal person, that's what they would be saying. But that's when Larry comes home, and when she like hears him, she's like, "Oh, fuck!" So she's like, "I gotta do something with this body, dude." She lifts it up like it's nothing. It's a fucking dead body.
She's a lumberjack.
And I like how it's like there's like no hijinks. Like in a lot of films, it would be like struggling to drag it across the
Yeah.
floor and hide it in a corner or something. She just like carries it like
Yeah.
out the door, and she's like,
like
where am I gonna put this?
yeah, like it's a fucking like rolled up carpet.
Yeah.
It's like so easy for her. But she goes into like the bathroom, and when Larry comes home, and she says she feels like sick, I guess. And then Larry's like, "Oh, like sorry to hear that. How can I help?" Like he was in a good mood too.
He's always in a good mood.
Yeah, I respect this guy. He's always in a good mood, and even though she's like she's a cunt. I'm saying I don't care. I'm using the c word. She's a
Yo.
cunt all the time. I don't give a fuck. And
Well, before that, like he walks up and he knocks on the door, and like out of nowhere for no reason he's like, you want a cookie, little girl? I'm like, what?
well, he's
What is
try-
the context?
Yeah, I
here?
don't know what's
I can
happening.
I can see why she's mad all the time. He ain't funny.
It
He
ca-
tries to be funny.
It caught me off guard because he's like, oh, you want a cookie, little girl? And she's like, I'm sick. And he's like, oh, can I help you, babe?
And she's like, yeah, go get me some brandy. He's like, all right, I'll be right up. And she's like, no, I'll come down. He's like, all right, don't rush though. Like you're all right. But he's too nice.
Yeah, great guy, good guy.
And that's
Larry.
when like Frank asked for one or two more bodies / people, and then it shows Kirsty working at the pet store. I guess is because she was saying earlier in the movie how she needed a new job because she found a new place to stay, so she's working at a pet store.
Yes.
She sees like the hobo from earlier when she was walking with Steve, and she's like what, it's this guy again. So she walks over to go see like what the fuck is up, and he just is eating crickets. His
Yeah, I
hand's,
don't
like,
know.
in the cricket cage. I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But she says like, oh, like give him back, and he's just like fucking eating them though. Like you ain't getting
Yeah.
those back.
And then she's like, oh my
Yeah.
god,
Yeah, she's like, oh, you have to leave.
you need to leave.
Yeah,
and
you-
she like follows him out of the store slowly. I'm like, dude, he could have an ice pick or something, like turn around and nail you. And so he leaves, and then Cardboard Steve comes out of nowhere. Jump scare. Oh, quick
Was
jump
that
scare.
supposed to be a jump scare? Because I wasn't scared at all. That guy couldn't scare anything.
He was just trying to check her out on her first day of work, see how she was
Yeah,
doing.
he was like, oh, I just wanted to see like what you were doing after work. And she's like, oh, you know, and then looks over at the fucking hobo who's magically not there anymore. He disappeared. So Julia brings home another guy and kills him for Frank with a hammer again. Yes, I think.
Yeah, and
It's
this
hard
was
to
the
tell
scene that was
watching
heavily
quick.
censored, which why it comes across as a quick like montage kill.
Yeah, that dude, it seemed like
It seems just like a
80s montage. She's supposed to be happy, but instead it's just her murdering this guy.
yeah,
all
but it
quick.
comes because it had to be cut that way because apparently in this one the like they victim thought like the guy who was like getting killed thought it'd be cool to like be fully nude and like have this whole brutal kill scene like fully nude and everything, and it ended up being just cut where he's like partially clothed and a quick kill because the effects that they had originally put in were just too brutal. And MPA was like, nope, we can deal with a walking corpse. Nude guy, not happening.
That kind of sucks for them because if they did spend this much money on like so many different like kills and the practical effects for them, and then they weren't able to use it, that could have been budget like that they could have used on other shit.
Yeah, and I mean
That's the risk you take.
it is, unfortunately, and by this point they hadn't even gotten to these scenes yet, and they were already in an X rating.
Yeah.
So they needed the MPAA got him. Another
Yes.
victim of the MPAA.
So then Frank kills this, or not kills this guy, but like absorbs his life force, blood, whatever it
He
is.
sucks him real good.
Yeah, and then when she comes back in the room, he's like smoking a cigarette, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I taste that finally." So you can see he's like slowly getting back to normal Frank, and Julie's like, you said that you'd give me an explanation, so you're gonna give me one, and he shows her the box.
And this is where we
But-
get a
and
bit
then
of we get an exposition dump.
Yeah, he kind of explains like that the box is like heaven or hell depending on who uses it, and it's all about like pain but also pleasure, like the worst pain but also the best pleasure.
Yeah, so
And he escaped it.
we're
Yes,
still being
and that he escaped it.
we're
right?
still
That's
being
a good
ambiguous
point.
about this, and he explains that like, yeah, I'm being chased. We need to get away from here. And she's like, by who? And he, by the Cenobites, which we're gonna find out more about them.
Yeah,
But
Well, I don't even know if he says Cenobites. Does
no,
he at
he's
that
just-
point?
no, I don't.
He's just saying like I escaped them, and she's like, who? And he's like,
them.
you'll fucking get it, dude. Like, just don't worry about
It's
it.
not the third act yet.
Yeah. So Larry and Julia are watching boxing, and Larry's like, I thought you hate watching this stuff. She's like, oh, I've seen worse. Like straight up corny this whole movie.
I think Larry would be our
FYI.
friend though, because he's over there really getting into it.
Dude, he is. I mean, I don't get that in the boxing, but
But then there's that one scene where like he's like, yeah, and then he looks over at Julia and she's like judging him so hard, and he just slowly
Yeah.
sits back in his seat.
you're such a bitch, man. Be yourself. Get a girl that likes you for you.
Amen. Preach.
That's a PSA for everybody out there.
Love yourself.
Frank begins like banging on the fucking wall. I don't know why. It's because he's hurting. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I thought in this
'Cause,
scene
like,
that
he said-
Frank was so just fed up with everything, he's trying to lure Larry upstairs.
Yeah, it makes sense to kill him.
Like he's just trying to like, and then like Larry's trying to
Well, it
go up
almost
there.
works. So
Yeah, Larry tries to go up there, and then Julie's like, "No, the thunder."
Julie asks like 8 times, like, please don't go up there. Please don't go up there. If I was him, I'd be like, all right, what the he's instead of being like, all right, what the fuck you hiding? He's like, why are you acting so weird? Like, bitch, what you got somebody up there?
That's what everyone would think, other than Larry.
Yeah, he's too nice. She doesn't deserve him. But yeah, they go upstairs and they find nothing. But do you see the rats nailed to the wall?
Yeah.
That's fucking. I wonder if they use real rats.
Probably not.
How the fuck did they get them to move like that? They were like moving slightly.
Unless they were little animatronics.
If they fucking spent animatronic like money on animatronics for that, that's terrible.
Can you imagine?
Better not have fucking. We need to Google.com that later because fuck that if they did. But Larry's trying to like, because Julia, to stop Larry from like going upstairs, is like trying to like kiss him and like act like she wants to make sex with him. And so finally, Larry is like trying to make sex with her, and Julia clearly like ain't into it.
Yeah, but she keeps saying like no,
Yeah,
no.
because Frank comes out of
No,
the
not
closet.
even that part yet. Like before that, she just kept saying no, and Larry's like, "Oh yeah, it's great."
No, Frank was like already peering out of the closet and like coming out, and that's when she's like, don't do it.
And
And
he's like walking close to that switchblade again.
yeah, and then he like walks up with like a switchblade and cuts like a fucking rat like its back off.
Yeah.
I like the
He's
skin
like
on
he's
its
like
back.
paring the rat.
Yeah.
And he's like looking at her. I'm like, what?
But
the
Larry
fuck?
doesn't stop for like that whole 30 seconds
Yeah.
of her saying no.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then when he does stop, it's just
he thinks it like she's talking about him. He's
yeah,
like
and
all
he's
fucking
like,
mad.
He's like, I don't understand you. 1 minute you're all over me and you want me, and the next minute this. And he like does like this storm off. And
yeah,
I'm like,
that's the one point I don't like, Larry. How dare you disrespect a woman like that? She don't fucking want it. She don't want it. PSA for all the people out there.
no means no.
Yes.
Wait, what?
Unless it means, well, it means no. Yes, I agree. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that got a little confusing.
Yeah. And then Larry and Kirsty are out to dinner, and he's like asking her to come by and try to make friends with Julia. The blah, 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 how she's been acting all fucking weird and doesn't want to like leave the house. Even though she does leave the house. Does she have a job? What the fuck is her
Who,
excuse
Julia?
for- yeah, what is her excuse for leaving the house every day?
She's Frank's corpse finder.
Well, I get that. But like, what does she tell Larry?
I don't know what she does. It just seems like she like.
She has to have a job, dude.
It
She's
just seems like for her to move out here, she kind of like forewent her career and everything. Like,
oh yeah, I
like
can
left
see
it
that.
all.
I guess
And so
that could be why she's so resentful.
I beats me. Plot holes galore,
Well, she's
man.
also just a cunt. But so Frank
Second.
asked Julia for another person before. He's like, I need one more person. Hurry before the Cenobites come looking for me. Where he says they come looking for me. Like again, like okay. I have a question. How many fucking people are these Cenobites dealing with? I'm assuming not too many.
No.
How the fuck don't
Well,
they
if he's
know?
the only one that has the box, maybe not. Maybe only him.
But I'm assuming not all those parts were his. They said because they say later on we've done this many times.
Yeah, and I mean later on, Kirsty really makes them look like a bunch of fools.
But I'm
Because-
saying, like, how do they fucking not realize that he's gone? And how fucking long has it been? How the fuck? I don't know what their job is, but they're fucking up. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because like literally, how did they not realize that he's gone? But
He snuck out the back door.
so when Julia's bringing the next guy home, Kirsty's like coming up to the house because she's gonna try to make friends with Julia, and she sees like Julia walking in the house with somebody, which is fucking weird because like Julia's literally the worst because as she brings the guy inside, she like looks around to like make sure nobody's watching her, and clearly the only person that's out in front of your fucking rural ass house is Kirsty.
Like standing
right
there,
in
and
front
you-
of it.
Yeah, as long as
Yeah.
she's not hiding in the bushes.
She might as well be waving her fucking arms like, right here. What the fuck are you doing? But like Julia doesn't see, and she just like closes the door.
Yeah.
and she does like the over dramatic, like I'm up to something.
Yeah,
Look,
like she's brooding again.
yeah,
All the time. And yeah, so Julia leads the guy like to the third floor where Frank, I guess, drinks his blood.
Well, no,
sucks his blood.
this one's real good because Julia clubs him with the hammer, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
This guy fights back a
Yeah,
little bit.
so that's why Frank has to like
and then he
step in.
sees Frank,
Well,
and he's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah. He like sees Frank out in the corner. Frank is like, "Oh fuck it, the gig's up. Let me just come out here and fuck this guy up." You know, Frank does his thing, throws body head, as Mark would say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell a story on this podcast eventually. But
I wonder which one it is.
all right, let's tell it now. So
There's no point in telling.
no, I'm gonna tell it now. So I used to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and when I was at a tournament in New York, my coach wasn't there when my match was there, like started, and because it was like
I thought you were telling a different story.
no, like first one, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to do. Like my coach isn't here. Mark's like, don't worry, I got you, and he's just yelling out there like when I'm in my match, get my ass beat, saying body head.
You can't strike.
You
Also
can't strike
BJ
in jiu-jitsu.
It's
It's grappling, like wrestling, but you're trying to submit somebody, break their arms, legs, like, or choke them. He's yelling out body head. That's my only coaching.
I really
Didn't
want-
work, by the way. I got my ass beat.
I
lost.
wish I could see the faces of the other coaches and people like around as Mark's
No,
screaming.
it was literally him and like this other guy that I trained with who was below me. Was he even a blue belt then?
No, I
They
think
can-
you were training him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, 110%. Like I was, because I was still a blue belt, but I don't know if he was yet. He might have been white.
But there were
belt.
so many matches going on, you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, you can. It was so hard to. Dude, I couldn't hear anything. But like the other kid was just like trying to yell out shit at first, and he's like, like.
Yeah, he was like, Kyle, do this, and he's like,
never mind.
never mind, I don't know what I'm talking about.
And then like I was just getting my ass beat, so it was not working. But yeah, so Frank comes out, starts throwing them bows at this guy, and like traps him against the wall, and like sticks his. This is the one he sticks his fingers into
Yeah,
the
the
guy's
throat.
neck, right?
Yeah.
The throat, and I guess essentially like sucks up the guy's blood.
I guess he's going for the artery, right?
I have
Yeah,
no
but then
idea.
Christy walks up the stairs, and the guy opens the door.
Yeah.
So he still has enough life in him
Right.
to open the door. I'm like, help.
Yeah. So Kirsty comes in and she like is like snooping around. She goes all the way top floor, and the guy like comes out and he's like, help. And then Frank just comes like barging out like, bitch, Kirsty, come here. It's your fucking Uncle Frank. Come to daddy. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, no. And then when so he like brings her like makes her back up into the room, and he tries to trap her, and when he grabs her and he's like, come to daddy, I guess to suck the blood out of her, she like just punches into his like not fully formed abdomen, and he's like, fuck. Oh my god.
And this is another MPAA moment. My god.
What is it?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was supposed to reach into his intestines and rip stuff out and like really get up in there, and then it was like, no, we cannot. So it's like a quick like punch, and obviously she like goes
Yeah.
inside a little bit, but then like he whips around and he's like staggers from it, and he's like, oh, Frankie's coming for you, and she just knees him right in his semi possibly existent crotch.
Yeah.
And drops him. And this is when she goes for the puzzle box.
Right.
Yeah, she goes for that puzzle box, picks it up, and decides.
He's like, no, give me that. No.
Yeah,
And he's-
way to show your hand, Frank.
Yeah.
Like you don't even bluff or anything.
And she's like, oh, you want this fucking box, dog? I'll give you this fucking box. And then she throws it out the window. And he's like, no. And I don't know why he doesn't do anything to her, but she just runs out of the house. Like,
And then picks up the box outside.
yeah, she picks up the box outside and then runs to the city. She's like running in the city now, not in the rural area where the fucking house is.
You know, I was actually like, when I was watching the scene where she's walking along the city fences and everything, I was like trying to like figure out which 80 montage song would go real good right there. Because it's a weird tonally, like you could really make that scene tone deaf if you wanted to. But she's like, people are like walking past her. Like, I think she walks past a couple of nuns.
Yes, and they look at her like, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch?
Yeah, but they don't even ask you, like, are you okay? She's just like, nope, this girl definitely does not have Jesus.
Yeah.
And they walk past her, and then she kind of slumps on the side of the road.
Yeah, she collapses like on the sidewalk, and a bunch of people are looking over her like, "Are you okay?" Which looks corny as fuck too. It's a corny shot.
She was
wakes
just
up,
taking a little nap.
little nappy nap. She wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor gives her the box. I don't know why the fucking doctor has this box. And
Yeah.
why it's not somewhere else.
Well, yeah. Apparently, he's like, oh, you were clamping to this like a corpse. And,
Yeah. And she's like, I have no idea. And he's like, maybe this will jog your memory.
Yeah, it's just weird that doctor being just real scummy. I just felt like it was like he walked in and he was like, do you remember anything? Well, the police are gonna want to question you, and she's like,
Well, I'm assuming he's a fucking doctor in the city. He probably sees a lot of fucking fucked up shit, and he's like, I'm sick of you.
and
Fucking
I don't know if maybe it's
kids
just
nowadays.
I'm a victim of the times here, but like, did hospitals look like that in the 80s?
I literally have no idea.
'Cause
That's how a lot
that
of
looks
them are
like
portrayed.
that looks
well,
like
you
the
know what it
back
looks
of
like?
a diner.
It looks like a UK hospital because think about American Werewolf in London.
Yeah,
Looks exactly the
you're
same.
right. You're right.
So
So are we back in the UK now?
I guess we're just better.
I thought we were in Brooklyn. Are we not in Brooklyn?
No, we're better than them. We have better hospitals.
Can we just start calling this place Brundon?
Shots fired.
This
You're
is
fired.
This is Brundon.
You're washed up. You're retired.
Okay, you're really pissing me off.
But yeah, so he gives her the box and he's like, "Oh, maybe this will jog your memory." So she starts fucking with the box and opens it, and there's some lights, I think, right? Or no, not yet. But
Yeah, this is
Yes,
what we're doing.
there's-
A little bit of sparklies.
yeah, and
Little
then
sparklies?
the wall like splits open.
Yeah, it's like a pathway.
Yeah, to like a hall, and so she's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna walk down this hall."
No problem. I'll go right down here.
No, this fucking wall just opened up a hall.
Not a
I'll
bad
walk down
idea
it.
at all.
Not you say not a bad.
Not a bad idea at
That
all.
was sarcasm. I thought you were serious at first. I'm like, what the fuck? So she goes walking down the hall, and it's just long shots just to make them fucking long for no reason. And then a monster pops out and starts chasing her like down the fucking hall, which is the worst looking monster.
It really is.
It like it's
Yeah.
supposed to look like it's crawling along the walls,
They dropped the ball on this one. I can.
but
say.
you could tell it's just somebody like in a suit like fucking running after her.
Yeah, they like with the other like how good Skinless Frank looks, and even the Cenobites look good, or Cenobites, whatever they're called.
Cenobites.
This looks terrible.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard for me to understand what they were going with here. Like if they were just trying to like put in like random creature horror just for the sake of it, but it just doesn't work. I mean, it looks like it looks like a penis with a stinger.
It looks
It
like
just looks terrible.
it looks like a monster from House.
Maybe
Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Dude, it looks like straight dog shit like that.
Big Ben's cool.
Well, yeah, Big Bad. Well, I like all the monsters in House, but I'm saying it doesn't work.
Quality wise, here it doesn't look
Yeah,
right.
compared to like everything else in this movie, it looks fucking awkward. So she like is running back down the hall that she just came from, and when she like gets out of the hall, she like starts smacking the puzzle. Is that what happens to like close up the hallway?
Yeah.
How does it close up? Because she smacks it, right? She's like smacking it, like fuck, close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that closes up, but then the light show starts again.
Yes, the room starts to distort, and then the Cenobites start coming out. The chattering Cenobite grabs her, and Pinhead and the Butterball Cenobite, as he's named
Yeah,
in the credits, I think.
yeah.
Or
You have
IMDb at least.
the female Cenobite, the Chatterer, who is the one with the
The teeth.
teeth out and his skin pulled back. Butterball.
Yes.
Uh,
Who looks like fucking fat Morpheus. That shit, dude, he looks like fucking Morpheus with those glasses on.
I've never seen The Matrix.
Tell me that's a lie.
I've never seen The Matrix. I just know Morpheus is from The Matrix.
I thought it was
I've seen like Scary Movie and
I
stuff
thought
like
it
that
was
when
Don
they make.
Vito's first acting gig.
Come on, man. Come on, man. R.I.P. to the great, greatest of the goats. Did he die? Don Vito's
yeah,
dead,
he's
right?
Don Vito's dead.
Yeah.
Didn't he molest somebody?
Probably,
What?
yeah,
Yeah, he went.
Like a-
he got tried
like
for
a teenager or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was like a creepy old dude, but
No, I think he actually.
like molested somebody,
I think
or
so.
was he like telling somebody to sit on his lap, like that thought it was cool to sit on Don Vito's lap?
I don't know. We're gonna have to do a little bit of research here
Yeah,
after this.
I don't
I
know.
don't want to drag a dead man's name through the mud if it's not true.
Yeah, but
That's what I thought.
she's like crying and stuff. Like Kirsty's like crying and stuff, and Pinhead's like, "No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering." And then she's like, "Oh, you like released, or you got a guy named Frank, right? What?
You know Frank?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just so
Yo,
funny.
no motherfuckers know
There's-
Frank." Pinhead's like, "Frank, yeah, we know that motherfucker.
Frank. What about Frank? We got him.
Yeah, we got Frank."
That's why, like, the female Cenobite, she's like, "You've done this before." He's like, "Many times." And
Yeah.
she's like, you know Frank? And the female's like, oh yes, like
yeah, bitch.
Only one Frank's ever done it.
Me and fucking Frank go back. No, they say a last name though. I just don't remember what the
like
last
Frank's
name
my
is.
guy. He's back at the house. No, he ain't.
Yeah.
But like,
It's like Cotton, right?
I want to say here.
What his last name?
I think they're the Cottons.
Oh, I don't
This
even know.
scene, I felt like it shifted for a brief moment into a totally different movie, because Doug Bradley's presence on screen as Pinhead, to me, and this is going to be a fanboy moment here, is incredible. His delivery of his lines are so cunning and cold that I remember as a kid, it went right through me. And like, I didn't even know what he was saying. He says, explorers in the further regions of experience, demons to some, angels to others. I don't even know what you just said, but that was some
Dude,
scary
it's supposed
shit.
to sound fucking metal. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Put up the horns.
but like, stuff like will tear your soul apart. Like, those lines are spoken. Like, kudos to Doug Bradley for putting so much malice into those words. He doesn't have to shout. He doesn't have to do anything crazy. He just is there.
I see what you're saying.
And I think that's why in this moment, more than anything else, people remember Pinhead,
Right.
because that is such a commanding moment on screen, and then they're gone. And you're like, well, this is cool. But yeah, she had no problem, real quick, being like, yeah, you know Frank, because I know Frank.
She's like, I'll bring you to him. I'll bring him to you, like something like that. And then
they say that, but they need to hear it from him.
right, which is why she says like, I'll bring you to him.
So now we move into the final sequence of scenes.
Yeah. So Julia's bringing Larry upstairs when he gets home. I guess to give him the Frank, to like get rid of him.
Yeah, I guess it's
Right, 'cause
Julia.
she finally gave
I think
into
Julia
that.
finally snapped.
Well, I think she feels like she's going to, like, finally do it.
Yeah. But then there's that weird scene next after that where she's like sitting in front of her mirror, and what you assume is Larry, or if you can't really tell, comes up behind her and puts his hand on her face, and it's like leaves blood on her face. So you're like, okay, so that's definitely Frank. So is he regenerated now? But they don't really let you know quite yet.
It's Larry's face. It's Larry's body.
Yes.
They show that.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Kirsty comes to the house. Julia lets her in. She says she wants to go see her dad. She goes upstairs. Her dad's like, yeah, no, don't worry about Frank. Like, yeah, I know about Frank. Julie told me everything. We killed him. Don't worry. It's cool. And like, Kirsty's like, what the fuck? No. I want to see the fucking body. And like, yeah, I mean, Larry's acting a little weird. He's drinking, and he's kind of like, what? No, we fucking killed. No,
He's gone.
Don't.
He's out.
Don't even worry about him. We fucking killed him. It was easy. And yeah, you can see like blood around the hairline.
Yeah.
And, like his scalp. It's fucking weird looking, and he's kind of making weird like facial gestures. I don't know. Like he's like, you could tell it's not like Larry, but he's like kind of being like, bitch. Like
The actor's doing a pretty good job of not being the
Him.
character that he's
Yes,
been
yes,
portraying.
yes,
So he
yes.
does a good job of it.
yeah. So Kirsty goes to the room with the body, and the Cenobites are there, and they're like, no, we don't want this body. We want the person who did this. And she's like, what? No, fuck you. Like, that's my dad. That's not the agreement that we had. And they're like, no, yes, it is. Like, we need to see that person. So she runs out. Larry, quote unquote, tries to stop Kirsty. And he says, like, no, like, stay with us. You'd be cool here. And he said, we could all be happy. And then he says, come to daddy.
One of us. It's like one of those weird, like,
Oh,
culty
yeah.
moments, right?
Yeah, I get it. If there was like more people, like in a cult kind of thing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get it.
we can
Yeah.
be happy here
Yeah.
forever.
But he's like, come to daddy. And it's at that point she realizes like that's Frank wearing,
My dad's face.
yeah, his like skin.
That's
She didn't think anything was weird with like the blood around his hairline.
I don't think she noticed.
well. What I want to say going forward for these scenes is Ashley Lawrence, who plays Kirsty. I think she does a really good job in her acting in these scenes, conveying the anxiety, the hopelessness, like just the overall fear and panic. I think she does a very good job. Because at this point, the end of the film is in full swing.
Yeah. So Frank goes to stab Kirsty with his switchblade because he's like, bitch, figured me out. But then when he goes to like stab her, fucking Kirsty moves because nothing's stopping her from fucking doing that. And he he stabs Julia, and then at that point he's like,
Didn't Julia like yell like not me?
yeah, and he's like and then he like, it's like, well, fuck it, she's gonna die. I'm gonna suck her essence, life force,
Yeah, he
blood
literally
out of
goes,
her.
sorry, nothing personal.
Yeah, he's like, it's nothing personal, and then he sucks the life out of her, and you see that, and like that makeup is kind of cool. I'll give them that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but
Yeah.
you could also, part of me starts to see like, okay, we were in budget free for all at this point.
I don't think she looked that bad. I don't know if did they show her transition into that like face. I don't think it was like,
No, I don't think it was like a transitional effect.
yeah, it was just like they switched like
quick shot.
camera, yeah, and switches to her looking like that. Yeah, I thought it looked pretty cool. But then Kirsty's like hiding upstairs, which I think a lot of this is just to fucking like make the movie longer because
Yeah.
it's a lot of pointless shit.
What
But
doesn't make sense to me is when they want to see who did this, why can't they just like walk around the house?
The Cenobites.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're like tied down to wherever the box is used.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Yeah, it's kind of like a nexus of energy.
and I think that might also be the reason why, like when Larry bled in that room, that's when Frank starts to come back.
it gets very convoluted. This
Yeah.
myth, it really does. We
Yeah.
just need to accept that it's no one knew what they were doing here.
Right.
Um,
But Frank like so Kirsty's hiding, and then Frank's like looking around, fucking all stupid, looking for her. Yeah, and then she just like he goes away, so she comes back out, and when she's like hiding though, that one body like falls out of like the shadows
With
and
the
it's got, like, a
maggots
bunch
and
of
everything coming out
maggots
of
in
its
its mouth, and then goes back into the shadow.
It was on a string. That's probably why. Okay, that's enough of that. All right, and we're back.
How did nobody smell that? Body smell, and how long has it fucking been there anyway? Like, were that many maggots?
Is that the
Well, you
first
remember
kill?
in the beginning of the movie they had the maggots in the house?
Yes.
They just like shoveled those up
Oh.
and put them.
In him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when she comes out, Frank like pops out and backs her into the room where the kill happened, where he killed Larry, I guess. That thing.
Yeah, and that's
same
when
third
Kirsty
floor
falls
room.
down, like looks at her dad's corpse, and she's like, "Oh my god,
Yeah,
you're my
Dad.
dad!"
You killed my dad, you bastard. Then the Cenobites come out like, bitch, you gotcha. And then Frank's like, oh, you fucking set me up. And Frank tries to like,
That's dead ass so funny.
why?
But I don't know when he's like, "Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, oh,
You're with them?"
yeah. And then he's like, well, I'll fucking take care of this. And he like takes out his switchblade again, tries to stab Kirsty. And just as like, as she's trying to like leave, but then like hooks catch him and stop him. And then they just start fucking ripping him apart.
Which is, I think, is one of the coolest scenes in this movie.
Yeah, and I
The
like,
skin, like the hooks going into the
Yeah,
skin?
like,
or just
no,
when
rip
they
it-
finally rip
yeah,
him
when he's
apart.
like-
Oh yeah,
His face is
He's
all
so
like,
stretched out.
and
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that Pinhead says, "This is not for your eyes."
Yeah.
and he's kind of just like, "Yeah, get out. Shh. This is adult time."
Okay, but but it also doesn't make sense. So the Cenobites after, but okay, so when they rip him apart, and then she leaves, like she's going to leave, and then they like come out like, nah, bitch, we're like not done with you. You just told her it's not for her eyes.
Yeah. I also like that they.
So is his pain and pleasure like not for her eyes? Like she has to experience her own kind of thing.
maybe.
See, what I don't think is happening is that the Cenobites like made the deal,
Yeah.
but then they were like, after like they completed him, they were like, "Yeah, the puzzle box still open, and she's here. So
Yeah.
why don't we take care of this one too?"
Yeah. So what I don't understand is, like, the Cenobites are trying to like get her, so she like goes to a body. Whose fucking body is that with the box? It's like sitting on top of a body in a bed, right?
That's Julie's. That's Julia's.
How the fuck did it get? It was like, dude, it's in a bed holding the box.
Yeah, teleportation. Maybe it's Frank's body.
No, it's Julia's because that ties into movie 2.
Well, guess I don't need to see movie 2 now.
Well, yeah, I mean they didn't explain it at all. Okay,
No,
I'll
it
take your
doesn't.
word for it.
That's the only reason why I know it's Julia,
Yeah.
because of the plot points in 2.
If you can't tell, I've never seen 2. I thought I did, but I don't remember a single thing about it. So maybe I didn't watch it.
2 gets crazy.
So
That'll be we'll be taking care of that at some point.
Okay.
Much to
suck
to
my ass if you think we're doing. No, I'm just kidding. You'll get a pick.
Mark might be quitting the podcast after that one.
Not if I kick them all first. All right. So, but yeah, she takes like the box off of a body and she like closes it, making the Cenobites go away as the house is just like falling.
Yeah, but
apart.
this doesn't make sense to me. No one else in time ever figured out, let me just close this and to get rid of them.
Well, I think they like just come out of nowhere and it's kind of too late. Like, we got you, bitch. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. Like when they first get Frank, he doesn't have time.
I don't know, just the whole thing. I guess they had to wrap up the movie, but the whole thing of it just pushing it back in is kind of corny.
Yeah, like each part that gets pushed back in makes a certain Cenobite go away.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's
except for the one Cenobite who's trying to like get Steve and her, and then the fucking house
like
just
takes off
falls
his
on
glasses
it.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Morpheus fucking takes off
Morpheus?
his glasses. Yeah, Morpheus Cenobite.
Morpheus.
Like the fucking house just falls on that bitch and makes him go away. So then they go to open up the front door, and like they expect to see something like, oh, Kirsty's like, oh nah, everything's cool. And then that monster that was in the hall, that shitty looking monster, like pops out and starts like fucking playing patty cake with her for the fucking.
Okay, that's the dumbest
box.
scene in this
That's
entire
what I'm
movie.
saying. Yeah,
That's
that thing
the
sucks
dumbest
ass.
scene in this entire movie.
They should have never had that monster.
Like that monster literally has to go 2 more inches further and it can bite her head off, and it's
Yeah.
like playing, no, don't touch my box. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get the box, and they're
Yeah.
just going back and forth, and you're like, I
Yeah.
don't understand.
So when she finally
There's a good 30 to 45 seconds this film does not need to be there, and then
Yes.
there's that entire sequence.
it might even be more than that.
It might even be more than that, but it's
So then
useless.
she gets the box, closes it. Her and Steve go outside, and is that the house? Does the house light on fire and burn down, or are they just in a?
in a separate area where there's like 7 or 8 fires just
Yeah.
going.
They could have been at Winstack 99.
Oh, because Limp Bizkit played and people started to set fires.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen it, but apparently there's a longer version of Frank's death scene.
Yeah, I've
where
never
like,
seen it.
Where like they actually show him being ripped piece to piece, and
I'm sure they filmed it, but then it got
they had
cut.
to settle for like that. Like apparently, like there was a scene where like his head, like his body ripped apart and just splatter.
Yeah,
everywhere.
I read that. I'm sure it's on like a director's cut or
Yeah, but
some deleted scenes or somewhere on the interweb you can find it.
yeah, that's. But yeah.
So anyway, they're like outside near a bunch of fires. I don't know if that's the house that burned down or if, like I said, they're in a separate area where there's just a bunch of fires. But Kirsty throws the box into the small fire, and because she's like, "Fuck this box! Like we're done with this." But then that hobo just comes walking up like no fucks given, takes it out of the fire.
You're
And
fired.
then does he turn on fire? Like light
Yeah,
on
he
fire?
catches
yeah,
on
he's like
fire.
on fire
And then
like
turns-
holding the box.
And then turns into like a dragon thing.
yeah, a really like something you
Little
find at
monster
East meets
demon.
West.
Yeah. East meets West.
Is that still a store?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like
it's-
that's like some like fantasy dragon bullshit that doesn't make any sense, and then he flies off with it.
Yeah.
No explanation,
Yeah.
no background. You know, one of those things that later on gets retconned into the plot story, but once again, it just doesn't
Yeah,
make
you
any
gotta-
sense.
this
Doesn't make
movie
any
has to
sense.
be its own thing.
Does not make any sense
Yeah.
here.
And it
Absolute WTF moment.
Yeah, it
Like-
ends with the guy in Morocco. You said it was.
In Morocco, yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to like sell off or give the box to some new guy.
Yeah.
And what's your pleasure?
Yeah.
Like,
And then the credits. Yeah, so that wraps up Hellraiser. Mark, you know what? Actually, I want to save Mark for last. Rob, I want you to give a quick review of it. Favorite kill, death, and your rating.
Okay. So when I saw Hellraiser the first time, it was around the same time that I saw Halloween, around 6 or 7 years old, and this was a little much. Halloween wasn't too gory. It was a lot of suspense horror. This was body horror, and this was the first time that I had really been exposed to something like that. And I remember being really thoroughly like grossed out by a lot of it. But forever and ever and ever, Pinhead stuck with me. Doug Bradley's performance and presence on screen really was fantastic. It's just such a shame that he's such a small part of this original film. And now that I've gone back and looked at it later in life, I used to just have Pinhead in my head so much. And I go back to this first one and I realize that, like, this film's not as good as I originally thought it was. I still like it. It's not a amazing and glorious film. It does have a lot of awesome things. Frank's body effects are incredible. His regeneration effects, the makeup effects, awesome. The Cenobites look great. Ashley Lawrence does a really great job as Kirsty throughout it. I could do a lot less of Julia. I do not like her in this film. It's almost like she's just phoning it in. I'm just going to brood and that'll be it. I liked where the film was going. I liked some of the themes that were explored in it: sexuality, lust, and the idea of insatiability.
Yeah, it was definitely unique in that way.
And it was unique is a good word. This was a very unique horror film for the time.
Yeah.
And it stands the testament of time in that regards. Favorite kill? I guess we're gonna count Frank as a kill.
The first time?
Nah, I'm gonna call it last time.
Oh yeah, that
That has to be my absolute favorite. If I'm correct, the original line was supposed to be like "F you," when he right about before he dies. Instead, he uses "Jesus wept."
Oh yeah, I do like when he says that.
Yeah, it's just like this defiant last stand.
Yeah.
I think it's brutal. My least favorite kill has to be the quick 80s montage kill where she just bops him and that's it. Kind of a weak one. I really wish on a separate note we had seen Larry die because it looks like his kill was horrific.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been an awesome plot point to watch maybe Julia watch him suffer and go through that transition arc. And it just didn't happen for us.
No way they were allowing that.
Of course not. And so, if I had to rate this movie, I would give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I'm being fair and objective. Like I said, I really do enjoy the Hellraiser films and the franchise as a total. I can definitely see where they tried to retcon a lot of stuff in this first film. But when I block out the existence of 2 onward, there's a lot of stuff here that just doesn't work. Great film. I'd recommend you guys to watch it. If you don't mind body horror and that kind of stuff, this is something that you should definitely take a watch. And I think that it should be something that all horror aficionados at least take a one shot at once in their life. So, Kyle, what about you?
So, the first time I saw this, I remember it. Well, I remember this movie being better than it was, to be honest with you. But I also don't know if it's the quality of the version I was watching. I'm going to put that out there.
Wait, were you watching Celebrity Deathmatch?
It looked like it. It literally looked like it. But the acting is not that good. Kirsty, honestly, I don't think she does all that well. I think all of them kind of seem like they're phoning it in a little bit, except for, like you said, Doug Bradley. He honestly looks like he's the person putting in the most effort, even though he has little to do in the movie. Because of that, like you said, his performance is very impactful. I don't know if you probably did read it, but there was like an after party for the movie, like everyone in the movie, and nobody was talking to Doug Bradley, and he's like what the fuck did I do?
Yeah, he was like, I got along with you guys great.
Yeah.
I had coffee with you every day.
Yeah, and then he realized like all the other actors never saw him out of makeup, so he's like, oh, that's why nobody's talking to me. They don't know who the fuck I am. My favorite kill is probably the first guy that gets killed, the hammer guy, just because I fucking love the fact that she just beats somebody to death with a hammer. To be honest with you, I fucking love that kind of shit. How brutal it kind of is. My least favorite kill is those fucking rats that were on the wall. That's not cool.
Yeah, we need to figure out if that's real or not.
I mean, fuck rats because they're disgusting, but also they didn't deserve it. They're just trying to stay warm, and fucking Frank's out there just killing rats. But honestly, I'd probably give this like a 5 out of 10. It's not the worst movie ever, and it is a big franchise, and I can understand why people like it, but it's just not for me personally. I don't mind body horror, but the vibes from this movie are awkward because it does seem like a romantic movie at sometimes, and then other times it's supposed to be like body horror. I don't know. To me, I just don't enjoy it as much as other people, but I don't think people shouldn't see it. It is, like I've said, beginning of a franchise. So Mark, let's fucking hear it, bro.
I don't even know where to start, but I'll say this. This is honestly the first time I've ever watched this movie fully through in one sitting. I've always seen parts, bits and pieces, and I never really enjoyed it. And another thing I think a problem with this movie is, for me personally, and maybe other people, when I was a kid, I kind of had like Hellraiser, Pinhead, like that's what I associated with. Like, so I thought it was like kind of a slasher movie, like Halloween with Michael Myers, Friday 13th Jason, you know?
Right.
So I put it in that category. That's what I always thought. And I never really was interested in watching it because what I saw, I wasn't really a big fan of.
Right.
Like, I remember as a kid, I remember seeing the ending of it. So now that I watch this as an adult, finally, and nothing makes sense in this movie really to me. And it's not what I thought it was. I thought the movie would be something totally different.
Right.
Because I didn't see the whole part with Julia trying to rebuild this dude. Going into this, I thought it was the Cenobites just killing people, like a slasher.
Yeah.
So
No, it's
so something totally different than what I thought it was.
Right.
Like when I'm watching this the other night, I'm like, what am I watching? This isn't what I envisioned in my head
Yeah.
when I see Hellraiser and think Pinhead. Because he's only in it for what, 10 minutes total?
maybe less than that.
Yeah. So I honestly was very confused, and I didn't enjoy it, the movie.
Uh-huh.
Then when I saw the bits and pieces, and I still don't enjoy it. Like, I would say this movie is probably a 4 out of 10 for me, and that's being generous.
I know it is. So okay, I have a question for you then. Is this worse or better than you thought it was?
It's better than I thought it was,
Okay.
but it's still not good.
Because I know how much you fucking hate Hellraiser.
Well,
and
I always
Pinhead.
just hated it because what I saw, I was like, I don't really like this.
Right, that's why I was, yeah.
And this movie is kind of corny, and it's not one of those movies where you know it's supposed to be bad. Like, I feel like they're trying, and it's not good.
Oh yeah, they're trying to be hella serious.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of this movie.
Right.
But 4 out of 10, maybe 3 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't even know, honestly. Like,
Look, if
I
you're going
don't.
2, might as well give it a 1.
Yeah.
No, 1's not good enough.
0 out of
Just give
10.
it 0. No.
I honestly didn't enjoy this movie. It felt like a chore to finish it.
Yeah, I get it.
Just from, I guess, if I saw the trailer, I don't know what the trailer looked like if I was a kid and I watched it, but just knowing what I know from the Hellraiser history and knowing Pinhead is like the main focus later on, like, and I thought that was from the get-go. So that kind of maybe is the downfall for me.
Yeah. I mean, later films will begin to transition into that slasher-esque style of Pinhead and the Cenobites going hunting. But this first film,
It's not that.
it's a horror romance.
It's like a horror erotica.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Erotica.
That's it. Horror erotica, guys.
that's
That's
the
we have,
word.
we have a new genre.
This could have been the movie in Halloween H2O that LL Cool J James was writing.
Yeah. So,
But so yeah, I have 4 out of 10. Watch it. It's for me it's one and done. I could never envision myself ever watching this movie again.
yeah.
So wait, we're not doing all of them?
I hope not. But if we do, it's whatever. Maybe it will make the story better for me. But a lot of this movie doesn't make sense to me. There's a lot of stuff that happens that doesn't seem like they knew what they were doing either.
Like in making the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like they didn't know what was going on, what was going to happen. But the end was my favorite kill with Larry / Frank when they rip him apart.
Yeah.
And obviously same thing with, like, as Rob said, the part where they do the montage kill is kind of corny too.
Yeah.
But I understand they had to. So that's my review.
All right. Well, that wraps up Hellraiser from 1987.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
All right, Rob, what's next on our agenda?
All right, next on our agenda, we're breaking away from the iconic killers to a little bit of a lesser known little furry killer in the horror realm of the 1980s, and another franchise starter from the year 1986. We are going to be looking at Critters. This should be an interesting one, and I'm looking forward to getting perspectives. Just a quick thing, Kyle or Mark, have you guys seen Critters before?
Yes, I watched it recently.
I haven't watched it since I was probably a teenager, but when I was a kid I used to have the VHS and I watched it like a bunch of times and I loved it. So I'll see how it holds up 20 years later.
I probably watched it like a month ago.
Really?
Yeah, because I ran out of podcasts to listen to, so I went back into the old episodes of Say You Love Satan, and they reviewed it. So I was like, well, I have like a list of their stuff, and I was like, fuck it, I'll watch the movie and then listen to their podcast on
Was
it.
that the first time you saw Critters a month ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So
It's fresh for you.
yes, it is.
All right, so
it's going to be fresh again.
there we go. It's been a long time for me. Many years. But I'm looking forward to revisiting this furry nightmare.
All right, guys, fucking coming at you. Thanks for listening. And if you want to give us any feedback, any questions, comments, concerns, you can always email us at vintagehorrorpod@gmail.com. You can reach us on Instagram at vintagehorrorpodcast. You can contact us on Twitter at vintagehorror_. We are still working on that. Forever working on that shit. You can follow me directly on Instagram at Kyle Bunnies, like the rabbit, KYLEBUNNIES. Or you can follow me on Twitter at Kyle Burge. That's KYLEBURDGE. You can follow Mark on Instagram or Twitter at Mark Rubino. That's Mark with a K, RUBINO, Mark Rubino. Or you can follow Rob on Twitter at Jedi_Master_Rob. Thank you.